Former VP Pence talks national security and foreign policy at AP-Georgetown University Forum, Washington. AP. Former Vice President and GOP candidate Mike Pence is taking questions on national security and foreign policy Tuesday afternoon at Washington's Georgetown University. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than the appearance is the first in a series of conversations with 2024 Republican presidential candidates on the topic, co-hosted by the Associated Press and Georgetown's Institute of Politics and Public Service. Pence has positioned himself as a foreign policy hawk in his party's crowded primary, advocating for peace through American leadership on the world stage. He has railed against the growing populist tide in the party, accusing rivals like former President Donald Trump and his followers of abandoning U.S. allies. The contrast has been particularly stark on Ukraine. Pence has called on the Biden administration to deliver more military aid to the country as it fights Russia's invasion, and has criticized those in his party who question ongoing U.S. involvement. Congress averted a partial government shutdown last weekend with a deal that excluded additional aid to the country. The White House and Pentagon say U.S. aid to Kyiv could be in danger without more funding. But a bloc of Republicans in Congress has refused to vote for it. Pence has argued rivals like Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis do not grasp the broader implications of their calls to limit military assistance, saying there is no room in the party for Putin apologists, and pushing back against those who want the U.S. to take on a more limited role on the world stage. And he's criticized entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, who has argued the U.S. should end its support for Ukraine so that it can ally with Russia against China. Pence made a surprise visit to Ukraine in June, touring the war-torn country and meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. While Pence's posture was once the standard in the Republican Party, his views have fallen out of favor with many Republican voters who have become increasingly skeptical about supporting Ukraine. About 4 in 10 Republicans, 44%, say the U.S. is providing too much aid to Ukraine, according to a Pew Research Center poll conducted in June. That's up from just 9% of Republicans who said the U.S. was giving too much shortly after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. A February poll from the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research found only about a quarter of Americans, 26%, believe the U.S. should have a major role in the conflict, down from as high as 40% in March 2022. Among Republicans, that number was even lower, with just 17% saying the U.S. should have a major role. Pence has also cast China as a major threat. In a speech at the Hudson Institute last month, he called the country the greatest strategic and economic threat to the United States of America in the 21st century, and said it was at risk of becoming an evil empire. In response, he has said the U.S. should work to bolster Taiwan's defense capabilities to stave off any threat. He also wants to ban China from purchasing new U.S. farmland and has called to move high-tech manufacturing out of the country. More broadly, Pence has called to increase military spending by at least $1.2 trillion and called for new investments in naval shipbuilding. A staunch social conservative, he has also said he would end woke military programs at the Department of Defense. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than Pence's appearance comes as he has been struggling to build momentum in a GOP primary dominated by his former boss. 3 months ahead of Iowa's kickoff caucuses, Pence continues to poll in single digits and was positioned at the far right side of the stage at the last GOP debate. Tuesday's event will include a Q&A with students in the audience as well as from 3 campuses in early voting states: Clemson University in South Carolina, Iowa State University and the University of New Hampshire. Colvin reported from New York. Associated Press writer Lindley Sanders in Washington contributed to this report.